Before Adam Smasher was the hulking Arasaka enforcer and Night City's biggest and baddest, he was competing for that title with another NC legend, someone with a resume just as illustrious as the Fullborg. In fact, events in the history of Cyberpunk would find them in a 1v1 encounter. As the top-rated solo in 2020 according to the Solo of Fortune annual awards, he was the top asset for Arasaka rival Militech. He's also someone who's been excluded from Cyberpunk 2077. Or has he? We'll circle back to that a little bit later. Today we're talking about none other than Morgan Blackhand, a true mercenary god to the gonks trying to forge a similar path. Morgan Blackhand, known by his nickname as the Hammer, was a veteran of the Second Central American Conflict, who began his duties with the US in the 80s. As a rookie, he was tasked with leading a key cyber soldier unit after their commander had gone cyber psycho during a mission. Leaving the army shortly after and returning to his hometown of Brooklyn, Blackhand didn't feel like he could integrate back into the real world. He had learned to become a lethal killer, but there was a lack of thrill and danger in his life when compared to his stint in the army. He didn't become a solo through choice either. An incident with a violent and abusive husband of a feeble neighbor ended with him killing the maniac and earning his reputation as a protector of the weak. He did end up on the streets as many veterans do, but even after such a long hiatus from combat, Blackhand was no slouch. One day he got into it with a local booster gang lord, someone quite high up on the totem pole. Blackhand easily flatlined the leader and calmly returned back to his drink. Overseeing the whole ordeal was a recruiter from Militech, tasked with scouring the streets for the latest up-and-coming talent. Talent that could be bought. Morgan ended up in a trial run with Militech, where he proved over and over that he was the best solo for the job. With the unique ability to capture targets alive, he rose up the ranks within Militech, leading squads around Night City. He went from bodyguard to extraction work to tactical operations and strategic threat management in a very short window of time. Europe boasted some of the best solos, but they all paled in comparison to Blackhand, who had begun dressing in his trademarked black turtleneck, suit and trench coat. Although not a full Borg and not appearing overly augmented, Morgan was chromed to the gills. He had a neural processor, Sandviston, smart gun and vehicle links, interface plugs, chipware sockets, nasal filters, 2 cyber optics, a cyber arm with rippers which also featured a heavy SMG, EMP shielding, and hydraulic rams. He had muscle and bone lace, and he also had nanosurgeons to top it all off. It's safe to say the man was equipped with the best of the best. During the Fourth Corporate War, Militech coerced Blackhand into leading a special ops team that he would handpick. Militech's plans were to storm Arasaka Tower, with 2 strike teams to be involved. Blackhand would lead Strike Team Beta with the most elite Militech combat bots, while Strike Team Alpha was led by none other than Johnny Silverhand, who had a score to settle with Arasaka. Militech wanted to destroy Arasaka's secure database as well as the Soul Killer, which Arasaka was using at will to gain more and more leverage within the world, a weapon that was becoming increasingly more powerful with each iteration. The Soul Killer had been zapping anyone who stood in Arasaka's way and was a violent means towards enacting any and all policy changes that would favor the Japanese megacorp. During the Militech issued assault, a bomb was planted by Blackhand's team at Arasaka Towers, and all was looking to be a success, but Arasaka had an ace up their sleeve in Adam Smasher. Caught by a pissed off Smasher in a Dai-Oni mech, Morgan was forced into a duel with him. As they lunged at each other, the ground from beneath them crumbled as the bomb was detonated. The result? 12,000 Arasaka employees were instantly evaporated, and another 500,000 people killed instantly.
In 2023, Night City was shaken to its core by the detonation of a tactical nuclear bomb in Arasaka's NC headquarters. 12,000 were killed instantly by the blast, and thousands more later succumbed to acute radiation sickness. This tragic incident, which some ultimately attribute to Arasaka's wanton imperialist tendencies, has forever left a mark on our city's history.
You may be wondering, what gives? Silverhand and his team placed the nuke and he was in confrontation with Smasher. Well, we have to remember that Silverhand is not a reliable source of information. Mostly because he's an egomaniac, and because we as a player get an insight into Silverhand's recollection of the events based on his own version of the events. It's the Mandela effect in action. Or at least that's the most plausible explanation. Now, Blackhand has not been seen since, but there have been rumors that he was working for a secret government asset after President Elizabeth Kress nationalized Militech post-bombing. In the 2030s and 40s, there were also rumors that Morgan Blackhand was making his way through cities that needed reconstruction efforts after the Fourth Corporate War. But hints in 2077 lead us to believe he's still alive and well. First off, you can obtain Morgan Blackhand's legendary clothing in a variety of locations. The description of all these clothes are the same, and are Morgan's own words of what happened the night he was recruited by the Militech agent who found him. Second, we can read stories on the net on Blackhand from the World News Service website, where a shootout in Japan is referenced. The only survivor was described as a portly man with a black cyberarm. At this time, it seems like he was working for Lazarus, a private military corporation who contracts out a wide variety of personnel from single operatives to armored divisions. It makes sense because Blackhand has always preferred to work alone, or in small units that he's personally selected. Third, there's no Blackhand drink in the afterlife, as mentioned by Claire. Drinks in the afterlife are named after Night City legends, and include the David Martinez, the Jackie Wells, and the Silverhand, but Blackhand is missing from the lineup. Fourth, he seems to appear in concept art for the game. And finally, fifth, he has a character model within the game. There is a 2023 and 2077 version, and one does look oddly like Mr. Blue Eyes, a secret character which I've touched on in another conspiracy video that I will link in the comments. These are unfinished and unused assets, but the fact that they exist implies his presence down the line. Credit to Lurk Oasis for finding these. So what do you think about Morgan Blackhand, and how does V stack up in terms of legendary status in Night City? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and for more Cyberpunk 2077 lore, join the Neon Nation by subscribing.